Hey guys, and welcome to the Lessons Learned Business Edition podcast. Today I have with me Ian, and I am really excited to introduce him. But before I get carried away, don't forget to like, share, follow, and if you like anything that was on the podcast, make sure that you ring the bell and you can see all the other podcasts that keep coming. I know I'll be getting Ian on again. He doesn't know it yet, but I'll be dragging him on for the life lessons too. Ian, I won't interrupt you. You introduce yourself.
Hi, so thank you for inviting me on. I'm Ian, CEO and founder of Keylu, online life planning website, and love being on podcast. So thanks for having me on.
No problem at all. You're becoming a little bit famous in the podcast world.
It's great. It's just meeting fantastic people and sharing your story. So yeah, I think these things are fantastic.
What's it like having your videos all over the internet?
It's frightening because but my daughter loves it because my daughter thinks I'm a kind of celebrity.
Yeah.
She thinks if you're online, everyone knows who you are.
Yeah, it's great, isn't it? The misconceptions of children's minds compared to kind of adults and business.
100%.
At least you're on the internet for the right reasons, Ian.
Yeah. I'm so glad we didn't have the internet 30 years ago.
So why don't you tell everyone kind of what inspired you to get you where you are today? Why Keylu, for example?
Yeah, so Keylu, the name Keylu comes from the Cornish word for family, which is Telu, and the K is the keeping your information safe. So everyone says, why Keylu? So I founded Keylu after losing my sister and mum. So I was living in New Zealand and I got a phone call from mum to say, Ian, your sister passed away. So I flew back from New Zealand, back in the UK. And during the 2 weeks I was back, my mum was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. So within a couple of years, lost two of the most important people in my life. And it was just during that process and during the time afterwards that you realise actually the one thing which is guaranteed to happen to all of us is the one thing none of us planned for. So I just wanted to create something which helped people manage their lives on a day-to-day basis. So from documents to stories to moments to memories, all in one super safe location. And then if something ever happened to you, we give that to your next of kin to quickly deal with your state and give you the time and space needed to get over the loss of somebody who you held dear. So yeah, we're very much value-led, mission-led company. Some exciting stuff happening in the next couple of months as well. And it's just really, I like getting out there and meeting people like yourself, Justine, and sharing our story.
I mean, what a beautiful story it is. It's horrible to think that the circumstance that you're in, and it's such a traumatic time and an emotional time, but something so good has kind of come out of it too, because you've noticed how bad a situation that you were in, that you really want to help people kind of moving forward, and that's beautiful in itself.
It's one of the things that's you're guaranteed to happen in life. So it's really bizarre that I know people don't like to think about end of life, nor do we. So we moved the whole business into a life product. So at any stage in your life, you're going to need all of your documents, aren't you? But do you ever stop and think about where are they? Most of them live in Gmail accounts. So what we're just trying to do is help people to get life organized. And if they're life organized, then it's one, you've got a peace of mind, you've taken care of everything. But if something happens, and for me, as I said, I'm married and I've got a 10-year-old daughter. Now, I want to make sure that I've done all I can for my loved ones in the future, but we want to do it in a really fun, easy to use platform. And as we said, it's all about a journey from joining us to signing off and what we can do in between with you.
Yeah, it's quite funny, really, isn't it? Because one of the biggest banes of my life is passwords. So if it's a bane of my life, imagine if something happens when I'm not around and someone's trying to find out my password. I'm struggling to try and get in one place or organized. So it's a perfect solution for that as well. So people don't think about it being a solution for them in the interim as well.
Yeah, it's just, we're busy people, Justine. We're all doing a million different things. We live our lives online. Everything is everywhere, but you never really stop and take it into account, So what we're trying to do is like kind of spring clean your life, like just get everything up to date, put it in one place, and then you kind of know where it is. And a prime example is if you're driving along the road and your car breaks down, now where is your breakdown cover?
Yeah.
And I think there's 7,000 breakdowns a day in the UK. And it's crazy numbers. So do you know where your breakdown cover is? So it's really just said it's actually for life. So your P45 with P60, your employment bookings. These are the things you don't even think about on a day-to-day basis. So we're just trying to get people to start going, actually, well, it would be really incredibly easy if I had that on the platform. So yeah, really, yeah, it's just changing people's mindsets.
Yeah, and I suppose another element of what you've got is storing things like photos and memories and stuff, isn't it? I remember speaking to my mum about Keylu, and the first thing she said is, "Oh, I need to get all those photos in my suitcase that I've got under the stairs onto the computer, and it needs to go in something like Keylu." That was the first thing that came to her mind, not about anything else. She just said, "If I don't do it, you guys are going to throw it away, and it's going to mean nothing to you." And in reality, that's probably what we do. We keep a couple and throw them away, but they mean so much to her that that was the only thing that she wanted to get online.
Yeah, it's so what's it been now? It's 16, 18 years since I lost mum. And sadly, the sound of that person's voice fades. And that to me is the most heartbreaking thing of losing somebody is the sound of their voice fades. So for me, as you said, my granddad was in World War II, and I've got this huge chest of stuff from him. But actually, that means something to me. But when I've gone, my daughter means nothing to her. So that just gets binned. So what we're trying to do is just say put the key memories into a Keylu account, like your baby scans, first steps, first words, graduation, all that type of that's gold. So if I had that for my mum or my sister, it's something I can go back to again and again. And for me, I've captured some amazing times with my little girl. She went through a crazy stage a couple of years ago, wanting to play fight with me. So I've captured some of those videos. I've got the camera recording this, and at the moment that means nothing to my little girl. But when she's 40 and she can look back on those times with me, that is what it's all about. Your legacy is so important.
Yeah, 100%. I'm a big video person, so I'm a photo person, so I love it. It's right up my street. And the amount of people I've actually spoken to recently, I know we're not even getting onto the life lessons of the business side, but I think it's such an important thing to talk about. I actually spoke to someone the other day, and they really wanted to do an interview with their parents, but individually, asking them like, say, 20 questions, standard ones from childhood to adulthood to their career to now, and just see where they went. If they went off on a tangent, let them talk. But so they had it on a video. It was answers to things that they probably would want to remember that they've probably forgotten. And they've got the voice on the video as well, and they get little personality traits and stuff. But they feel now they've gone too late because their parents are poorly. They don't want to feel that they're asking them to do it because they're poorly, but they wish they kind of captured it. And I said, there's got to be something in there that you can do that for people so that they have that as a memory and a keepsake to move forward, just for that particular, to be able to capture the voice, the personality, and the moments, really.
Yeah, 100%. And it's not even that way around. You can flip it the other way around. So do the same thing with your kids.
Yeah.
So when your kids you interview them and say, look, Daddy, I love Peppa Pig and my favourite stuff. So all of a sudden you go in the opposite way. So you get your kids from a very early age and start. So my little girl's 10 and she absolutely loves Stitch, Lilo and Stitch clothing, Stitch shoes. A week later, she no longer likes Stitch for some reason. So when she looks back on these kind of things that we've recorded with them, that's going to be, I can't believe that was my favourite song. So, yeah. and as you said, when you're interviewing your parents, this isn't to say, look, Dad, I want to talk end of life. Dad, I want your stories to live on.
Yeah.
And it's just reframing those conversations. So it's the same end result. You've got these amazing stories, but you're just reframing how you speak to your parents about that.
Yeah, love that, really do. Obviously we're talking about kind of lessons learned in business. So obviously Keylu's been up and down to get it to where it has today. Tell us some lessons that you've learned in business about kind of your journey to where you are that you wish you kind of known from the beginning.
So when we first, yeah, how long have you got? And it really is a journey. And I mean that you look back on it and you go, I can't believe we did that. But it's one of those things you learn from as you go along. So when we first launched the company, we were called Once I've Gone. What happens once I've gone? And it made absolute sense. The issue is although it's amazingly useful to get your affairs in order, no one wants to think about a time they're not alive. We do the will, and most people don't actually do the will. And then we park it, we go, okay, that will do. So one of the things we thought, okay, how can we get people to really embrace end of life planning? And they won't. It's just that people want to get the will done and move on. So one of the things we learned is actually speaking to customers and just a simple rebrand of the name was something which actually turned it into a positive thing. Life planning became far more simple and people are really embracing it, not only in the UK, but we've got kind of international opportunities. So I would have said the biggest lessons is if you feel something's wrong, change it and do it quickly, pivot, continue pivoting. If you think if it's not working once again, change it, because you might have an idea which isn't quite working. A couple of little tweaks will make all the difference. And we've noticed since once I've became Keylu, it's opened up so many more doors for us. And the other thing, which I wish I'd have done earlier, was bringing on board a mentor, somebody who's been there and done it, has the experience. And off the back of that, it's been amazing, because you don't know what you don't know in business. I'm lucky
that mentor.
We've done a couple of investment rounds in Keylu, and one of the guys who came on his background was financial services.
Okay,
but he was just a genuine guy. You know, when you meet somebody, you have that gut feeling. I met a new person yesterday, and he said, "Look, Ian, before we do any work together, I want to do the beer test with you. Can I have a beer with you and spend the afternoon with you? And if I can, then let's work together."
I love that. I used to do that in the office. I wouldn't hire someone that I couldn't have in the same room as me.
Yeah, it was amazing. So we had an hour meeting, and 4.5 hours later, I left that meeting. And it was, you know, you have to have somebody who shares your values, who's got the same vision as you, and also you can deeply trust with what you're doing. But also they've been there and done it, because as a startup, and even though I've got my co-founders, you sometimes feel you're learning along the way. But actually, if you've got somebody who's been there and done it, that helps massively. At the same point, these people who've been there and done it love helping other people. So even though we're not this huge startup yet, I'm still a long way down the line, and some people who are just starting. Sometimes you've got to look back and go, okay, how far have I come? So I'm always, if I can help other people at the first step, then it makes you feel good about where you've come from. So get a mentor, one of the things I wish I'd done far earlier, and listen to audiobooks from writers who've been there and done it, like 0 to 1. And there's so many really good books out there that can really inspire you and just give you that additional knowledge.
I love that. I used to be really into books, but I think the more I'm working on computers, when I read a book, it makes me go to sleep now. So I have to do audiobooks. The mentor thing I think is really important. I think I felt like I had a mentor in my career, but actually looking back on it, it probably wasn't the right mentorship. It became more of a friendship, and I think it's great to have that relationship, but I still think that has to be that business line of this is business and we need to talk business and we kind of need to move things. So I think my biggest lesson was understanding that mentor kind of capacity and what you expect from a mentor and what you should kind of gain the value from, and same morals, that type of stuff. So I do think that's really, really important. If you find it, I think it's great. So it's good that you've got someone that you can. So are they investor in Keylu now?
Yeah, but the nice thing is they challenge you.
Nice.
Like you've got to be pushed outside your comfort zone. In order to grow, you cannot stay in your comfort zone.
Yeah.
So it's, even though some of the things you might hear, you might think that's not right, or that's really tough to deal with. 6 weeks later, you've gone through that and you're actually better and stronger. So for me, a mentor isn't somebody who says, amazing, you're doing everything perfectly. Somebody who actually challenges you and says, are you doing the right thing? Are there other ways to do this?
Yeah.
So yeah, the right mentor is absolutely critical.
Yeah, agreed. I suppose, you touched on it briefly then, but what advice would you give someone who's facing setbacks in the business at the moment? So we know, both of us, just as much as each other, that setbacks happen all the time. No matter how pre-planned you are with your business, you will get a setback. So what advice, or your bit of key advice, would you have to kind of get someone through that?
There's a saying I love, and it's, if you're going through hell, keep going.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, nice.
Because you can get swallowed up. And actually what the good thing to do is step out of business. If you're having a tough time, take a day off, go and spend some time with either your co-founders, and actually step away from the business and really analyze what's happening. Yeah. There's every single thing that happens in a business is a lesson. And you look at it and you go, okay, this can either overwhelm me and get on top of me, or let's sit down and analyze why this has happened and see what we can do to change things.
Yeah.
So there's no such thing as a bad lesson in life. It's just a lesson, and it's how you learn from it. So one of the things you do is, if you're working 24/7 in the business, you're not actually looking at, let's step back and think, how could this happen differently? What could we do to have changed this? And how can we make sure this doesn't happen again in terms of mistakes potentially? So it's just sometimes taking a day out, taking a day off. If you feel like you're not achieving anything, just stop.
Yeah, I agree. I think I've noticed that I'm a burnout person, so I'll just keep working, and I think the more that you work, if I'm going to the gym, I feel guilty because I'm taking my time out of work. But actually, the minute that you take that aspect out of your life, you become very tunnel vision. You don't get creative. You don't kind of see the wood for the trees. So I do think that's a really valuable lesson. And you touched on books, that you obviously love a good book or audio book. If you could pick one to recommend to people, your top book, what would it be?
So it might sound really strange. There's a book called Why We Sleep.
Okay.
And it's amazing. So I've just read Rewire Your Mindset, 0 to 1. And I'm constantly given new inspiring book to read. But Why We Sleep is just amazing. As startup fans, we're told 4 hours sleep is enough. Get up at 4 a.m. No, you need 8 hours sleep, at least 8 hours sleep, and a good sleep. You cannot work when you're tired. So as you said, you're like me, you work to burnout. But when you're burnt out, you're not achieving good work next day. You're literally just so I read that book and I'm massively inspired by it. So I now get up earlier, get up at 6 in the morning, and I go for an hour-long dog walk, listening to an audio book. By the time I get home, I've got everything set for the day. But that means by 10 o'clock at night, I'm ready to sleep.
Yeah.
And the other thing it taught me is the detrimental effect of a lack of sleep. So don't beat yourself up if you think you should be working all night, because it doesn't help you. You know, you're much better having 4 really good hours at work than 8 tired hours at work. So it's just analyzing that. So yeah, Why We Sleep is a fantastic book, and I recommend it to everyone.
I might read that one. It sounds like a great read. Thank you so much for coming on, Ian. There's been loads of valuable tips and stuff that we can kind of take away from this. If you could just give a little bit of a roundup of kind of your advice to business, make sure that you get in there, kind of how people can connect with you, find out about Keylu or sign up, and then we'll finish off the podcast.
Yeah, so you can find me on LinkedIn, just LinkedIn Ian Dibb. There's only one of me because it's such an unusual name. You can also find me at Keylu. Business advice, leadership advice, just keep going. You know, just really enjoy what you do and find people that want to share the journey with you. Read as much as you can, learn as much as you can. And also, everyone gets the imposter syndrome along the way. So if you think you're not good enough, everyone feels that way at every stage of the business. So I speak to people all the time and say, how did you get there? How did you do that? Well, you do it by just doing it, you know? So just 1, enjoy the journey. 2, spend time with people that share the same vision as you, and don't be afraid to fail.
Love that. Very good advice. I'll put all the links to Keylu, your LinkedIn and whatever in the bio below. And remember, everyone, if you liked what you heard today, give Ian a follow and share. And if you want to be on the podcast, get in touch. There'll be a link below for that also. So thanks very much for coming on, Ian. I'll say having me.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I really enjoyed
podcast, don't you?
It's an absolute pleasure. It's lovely to talk today.
Lovely to see you, and we will catch up soon on the life lessons one.
Yeah, take care.
Thank you. Bye.